I'm so excited for Steve Richman to be on this podcast. Steve, you are somebody who understands me more than a lot of people because you've lived a life of travel as I have. And so, first of all, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, of course, I like being here. I don't know how long you and I have been friends, but it's been quite some time. And you say the world of travel. I have had many, many times people come up to me and say, "You're like the Ken Perry of the East Coast." And I know you've heard, "You're a Steve Richman of the West Coast." So here we are, coast to coast, having a conversation, my friend.
I don't know if the world can handle both of us on the same conversation because we are energy people. Like we bring energy to everything we do. We're two of the only speakers you can throw in after lunch and not be scared that it's going to die down. That we can like bring the energy back. So we'll see. I don't anticipate this being the same because you kind of have to perform on stage, right?
I don't know. Go ask my wife. I'm always performing, right? She's like, "Not at home. Slow down." But I mean, it's funny you say that. I'm an energy guy everywhere. I when I go out and play golf, everybody's like, "Boy, you run up, you walk, get right up to the ball, and you hit the ball, and you don't line up your putts. You go and you're talking." I'm an energy guy. This is who I am, and I think that's, you want a life lesson or whatever. I think one of the huge things is we tend to look at, who should I model myself after? Or who should I want to be? Oh, that's a top loan officer. Go do what they do. Well, if that's not you, you got to be yourself. You always got to be true to yourself. So yeah, I'm an energy guy. Some might say ADD. I don't know if that fits your personality, Ken, but I know it does. So yeah, that's who I am. I'm absolutely energy, try to be optimistic, pump it up. And if I can get you to smile, I know I'm on my way to connecting.
It's so funny. ADHD has come up in so many conversations lately, but I do credit ADHD with a lot of the work that I've done and being able to stand on stage and drive down, a place nobody expected and then pop over and go see this place and then come back to this spot. And like, I think that energy for the stage, I think ADHD is a huge gift for being able to stand up and not be hinged to a slide presentation kind of a thing. That's true.
I want to go, what makes a good public speaker or whatever, that's where the ADD, because it allows you, in my opinion, the difference between a speaker and a good public speaker. You can get an SME, a subject matter expert, that says, "I know this, this, this." The person who's doing a good presentation or a good speech, it's not about knowing your topic. It's about transitioning from point A to point B, from point B to point C. Like you said, oh, it allows me to figure out this is where I want to go with it, and that's where I'm going to go. The speaker's worried about the transition because that's where the story is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. I have a speech this afternoon. I'm speaking for an hour on where the market is and how to get through it. And I was on a call just earlier before this call, and I'm like, oh, I have to go. I should probably write this speech for this afternoon. But writing a speech for me is just like, these are the 3 outline points that I want to go through. Like, as long as I cover those, I'm good. And 20 years of doing it, you kind of get used to it, right?
One of the things I can't stand is when people say, "Okay, here, we've given you the speech." I'm like, well, no, it's my story. Tell me the 5 points you want me to make, and I'm going to figure out how to weave that story. Because people say all the time, they're like, "Oh, should I don't know how you're going to get to that point. I don't know your life. I don't know what story you have to be able to get to that point." So to me, I always write my own stuff. And that's me telling the story because I know where I want to go. I know what those 5 points are. So therefore I can figure out how to brandish them together.
I have to know, this is what I do. Do you do the same thing? When I'm about to go speak, I go, I can't wait to see how this goes. Like, I wonder what I'm going to say. Do you have that same thing, or do you always kind of know?
I never know how it's going to go. I'm not sure. I can't wait to see how it goes. I think I'm a little bit more, you asked before, is there anything that's off topic? I'm a little bit more of a neurotic Jew than you are. Okay. Let's just throw that out there. Right. So I'm not, and I do believe this when it comes to public speaking or whatever, or this is my legal background, because as you know, I'm a lawyer also. I'm playing out 20 different scenarios of what can go wrong and what I can do to fix that when I'm up there. So I'm sitting there saying, okay, if they start to, oh, wow, all of a sudden everybody's talking about Chat GPT right now. So what do I need to know about that? Because if they want to go down that path, am I going to be ready and prepared to be able to do that? So yes, I agree that I say I don't know where we're going to go, but I've already played 100 different scenarios out in my brain that if we start going down that path, I feel like I've already been there.
Mm-hmm.
It drove my law school roommate couldn't stand living with me. Okay, his name was Scott. I'm still friends with him today. Obviously, law school was a long time ago, but he goes, after our first time living together, he goes, I'm never taking another class with you, because when we were studying for finals, I'm like, well, what if the question's this? What if the question's this? What if the question's this? He's like, no, let me just know what my facts are, and then I'll deal with the questions later. I'm like, I learn by knowing what the question is, and then I figure out the answer.
That sounds exhausting.
Welcome to my world. It is exhausting, but that's why you're an energy guy, or I'm an energy, because I have that energy that can deal with that constant pummel that's boom, 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 that's constantly going at you. But when I was a little kid, you said, is there anywhere we can't go? I don't care where we go. I went to a camp called Camp Comet. Okay. It was in Harrisburg, Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. Love this place. I still have friends from camp. And when it was my third year there. So I was probably about 11 years old. The yearbooks, and they'd give you your yearbooks out, right? And they'd have to say something about each kid in the bunk because nobody wants to be left out. And I'll never forget, in my third year there, they said it was like a last will and testament, like, oh, I give you the chocolate bar because you always love chocolate. Well, for me, they said, we'd like to give you a crystal ball so you know what's going to come next. And that's from age 10 or 11, people had seen that in me. And here I am at 55, and it's still, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next?
So they saw in you that you always wanted to know, like you needed to know what was going to happen next. You didn't want to stumble into something. You wanted to be fully prepared.
Right. Which
Isn't it funny how early that was? Like this has just always been you.
That's my point. It's always been me. I've always had what's next, what's next, what's next. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but it does help me prepare for a presentation because I'm always thinking about, okay, if they ask this question, what's next?
So you traveled around the country speaking. How many gigs would you say you did a year, and for how many years?
Well, I've been on the road speaking since 2000. So let's say 23 years now. Mm-hmm. In my high point, when I was with, I think it's Enact Mortgage Insurance now. It was Genworth Mortgage Insurance. It was GE Mortgage Insurance when I joined. I was doing about 180 gigs a year.
Wow.
That was pretty outrageous. And COVID caused me to rethink that. That's just, you say, hey, what did COVID do? If you drive an hour, you have an hour commute this way and an hour commute that way. I look at that and say, how could you do that every day? But when you do it every day, you don't think about it. Mm-hmm. So to me, my commute was get on an airplane, go to another city, and then I'm good to go. And then when I came home from COVID, then I start to think about it. I'm like, ooh, I got to figure something out. I can't do 180 gigs a year.
Well, it wasn't legal for a while there. I mean, was there an initial, like when you first, because you had already left, right? So you had left the mortgage insurance company in what year?
I've been gone from there. July will be 2 years. So right now we're in April. So what's that, a year and 10 months, a year and...
Oh, so, okay. So yeah, you were still rocking then. Like you were still on a plane every week. That completely halted it. Was there an initial reaction where you were like, how do I feel about this?
Absolutely. And see, you say, hey, what are our lessons learned? Okay. So one of my things that I start to think about is, and I put it into a presentation, are the 2Gs, right? How do you get through COVID? And it's going to cost you 2G, and that's not 2,000, that's grace and gratitude. And, you went through and everyone's having a problem because of COVID. So stop looking at yourself and crying in your own Cheerios, and everybody's got their own problems to deal with. Stop being so myopic and just looking at yourself. But the other one was gratitude. And every time I would hear somebody say, oh, I have Zoom fatigue and I'm sick of these Zoom calls, I was like, thank God, amen. Whoever created Zoom, I want to be your best friend. I want to hug you. I want to kiss you, because without Zoom, I would have lost my job, right? I mean, how else were we communicating? There was no way to do what we were doing. Yeah, to learn how to redo things, the Zoom and video and all that. But to me, it was all gratitude immediately of, okay, I'm not on the road. How do we do it? But I'll take it one step further. You didn't ask, but I'll say it anyway. People would say, oh, well, you're a professional presenter. Didn't it make it harder with Zoom? In my opinion, it actually got easier because it got harder for the middle people. See, when we're doing something Zoom, you now have what? You have 20 other distractions that are sitting around you. So that puts the onus on the speaker to be that much more interesting, that much more creative, that much more engaging, because you can lose them like that. You know, when you got 100 people sitting in a room, they have to be quiet. Their phones are off, or they have to dance if they're in a Ken Perry room. They got to do all that. But you're right there, and they have no other option but to sit there and look up at you. Here, they're at home. They don't even get on camera. You know they're looking at text. You know they're looking at emails. It forces you to up your game that much more, in my opinion, when you're doing things on Zoom.
You saw it as a challenge.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I got to get you somehow. So try and put energy out over a video, but you can do it. And that's how you can engage with people. And I'll tell anybody on the planet, and I don't know, who watches this? Is it mainly LOs, or is it across?
It's everybody. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's the world.
I say to salespeople all the time, I know you hate video calls, but you should be doing all your video calls with your customers. Why? How many times have you been on a call that you're like, I know they're just texting somebody right now, or I can hear them typing away, right? So how do you overcome that? I'll show you how I give you 100% attention. Come on, look at me. I'm looking at you. You know that I'm paying attention, and I'm here delivering what I say I'm going to deliver. So we learn through the whole process of, okay, this is something else that I can improve on and can do better.
Yeah, it's so funny trying to get people to do video before the pandemic. Nobody wanted to be on camera. They're like, oh, I don't like how I look on camera, whatever. And we saw so many more people willing to do video because they were forced to do it, which then, of course, made them grow into, okay, well, this isn't that hard. This is actually just talking to people. I think it's easier to talk in person than on a Zoom. So I think that's your energy at the end of the day. Like if you do a 4-hour seminar on Zoom versus in person, you're getting the energy back both ways. So you're right. You have to like challenge yourself to, how am I going to get that out of this call?
Exactly. So, but of course it's easier to get it in person because you got the back and forth. On Zoom. You may or may not get the back and forth. So it's really, and I laugh with my wife a lot of times. I'll say like, hey, we're having an argument. Well, I don't need you for this side of the argument because I already know what you're going to say, right? Doing the Zoom calls, what do? You're playing the audience side in your own ears. So you're saying, I know you're thinking this right now, and you keep building up the energy to try and engage them on that.
Yeah. So you went through that many years, which I started in 2003. So that was 20 years of travel. You've been married how many years?
Well, right now, 29.
29 years.
Will be 30. My story with my wife, I mean, we went to 7th grade together. So there are not a lot of secrets. We've been together for a long time, been married for 29 years, started dating in 1988.
What month?
April.
Oh, Mindy and I were July is when I first met her of 88. That's so funny.
I took her to an away weekend at my fraternity. We had a formal or whatever you want to call it. It was an away weekend, and we sort of looked at each other and said, should we be more than just friends? And you want to try this? And we've been trying since April of 1988.
How did you, and you're happy, like how we have a rare,
I'm not happy. I'm thrilled, but she's so much better than I am. Come on. I don't know what's wrong with her to put up with me, but I do. Go ahead. Anyway.
I fully understand that from my own situation, but what were your, it wasn't easy, right? To travel, for me at least, to travel for that many years, being married, having 3 kids that we raised, you raised 2 kids. What were the big, like, getting through it? Like, was it always just easy for you, or were there times you're like, whoa, like we're getting a little detached, or, I'm not being, who I should be or whatever? What were the takeaways from that?
I think a big part of it was for me, and this is also part of being an energy guy. I realized that I wasn't home as much, so I had to devote all the time when I was home with a lot of energy, a lot of attention, a lot of be present, a lot of be there. So, it's real easy to say, oh, well, you have a little league game or a swim meet or this or that. I got a little bit of a headache. I'm not going to go this week. Right? Because I can always go next week. That was not the case for me because I'm probably on the road next week. So if you got something this week, I'm all in right here, right now. Let's go.
Nice.
So I made that conscious decision of I need to cram that amount of time and attention into a smaller time period because I only have so much time with them.
I love that. I mean, I reference being a sprinter. I was a sprinter dad and a sprinter husband. I came home and I ran as fast as I could for the time that I'm there, and then I'm gone. Then transitioning into a marathon husband and a marathon parent. What was your wife's reaction when you were like, I'm going to be here now? And she's like, oh, like, was that a transition?
That was her reaction. I mean, it's something that we did discuss. It's something that we looked at, and it had its moments. But I think even from the very beginning, when we were both home, it was like, oh yeah, this is good. It wasn't as big a turmoil as you think that it may have been.
And with the kids, it was they're gone now, right? Both of them are graduated.
Well, one's about to be. She's got prom this weekend. She's 18 years old, so she's about to be gone, but she's still here. We are all, even my kids at a younger age, just independent people. I know that. I mean, I don't know that we're going down couples therapy right now, you and I, right now. That's what I feel like we're doing. I didn't. We're talking business or what are we talking about? But I look at we are dependent on each other, but we're also independent at the same time. So it's not, I need to be with you every second of every day and It's like she works. She's got a great job. That's very wonderful things. And she runs her life and I run my life. And we enjoy the time that we are together. But, she's in the other room right now. I want to call right down the hall.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's such an interesting parallel. I'm more asking for my own, like, because we've lived very similar lives, being on the road all the time, speaking to the same industry. And so it's interesting to hear so many similarities still in that, which I could have guessed that was the case.
But being on the road, you also have to, and this is a huge lesson I learned from being on the road, and it's an old cliche, but control what you can control and what you can't control, don't get upset about. I mean, and we both learned that, because how many times was it, oh, you're going to be home at 5:00 and you'll get there for dinner, and then the plane just is delayed and you're sitting there and it doesn't come in, and it's not like I did anything. And people, oh, why is the plane late? It doesn't matter why the plane's late. It's late. Yeah. Who cares what the reason is? We're not taking off on time. So to give up that control and realize that, I think that was very helpful for both of us. There was no blame in it. It was, hey, this is what it is. Right.
Now, transitioning into the mortgage industry, it's interesting being in this industry because both of us were speaking during the run up in 03, 04, 05, 06. And like everywhere we went was a huge party. Everything was awesome. And then, of course, the crash of 07, 08. What were your audiences like? If you remember, did it feel like just picking people up off the ground all the time as 08, 09,
Or right now? That's why I created a Cynic's Guide to Motivation, Success, and Happiness, because people were no longer interested, but were less interested in, you had to get them their mindset right before they could tell them what actions to take. So we're always saying, do this, do this, do this. Well, right now it's like, I'm a cynic. None of this is going to work. The market's horrible. What are we going to do? So it forced me to change the story of, okay, I know that these 10 steps are going to work for you, but step one. So my new one, I don't know if I've even told you this, Ken, it's IMA. So I'm going to help you do more loans. I'm going to help you get through this. What's IMA? It's IMMA. It's information, mindset, message, and action. So
Nice.
everybody out there all day long is getting online and saying, oh, let me give you information. Let me give you a fat. Well, you got to take that information. What's your mindset with that information? What's the message you're going to take out about that information? What actions are you going to take? Said in another way, I believe in dyslexia. So we talk about education. I talk about take the C and the A of education and flip them, be dyslexic and make it edu-action. Right? So it's not just let me tell you, here's the information you need, but it's all about the action.
Yeah. So funny. I'm writing a new speech called Follow My Damn Program, which is decide, act, manage next. And most people are pre-decision where they're like, I should really do something. And it's like, yeah, until you decide you're going to, it's just going to sit there. So it is so much of inactivity right now. And that fight, flight, or freeze, there's so much freeze.
Well, I think, in my opinion, the reason that there is so much freeze right now, and the reason that there is the inaction, is because people don't want to put action, which is a investment in time, energy, effort, and possibly money, if they don't know that it's going to work. And since we are walking into these unprecedented times, everybody is going, well, I don't want to learn Instagram right now, because what happens if Instagram doesn't help me? Well, okay, so what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to say no to anything. I've seen some good best practices panel or top LO panels, and I've seen some bad ones. And the bad ones are like, so what do? I communicate. Okay, good.
Return phone calls. Yeah.
But how do you now say, I was listening to one the other day, and the person said, you got to go in and work your insurance agents and work your real estate agents and do their phone nights. You know how they always have phone nights where they're calling customers? And I'm sitting there in the back of the room going, nobody's doing phone nights anymore. That's something that hasn't been done in quite some time. So it's like, okay, well, a phone. So to me, I'm going, that's, yesterday's newspapers. What are the next things going to be? And you have to, now's the time to take the big swing. Now's the time to try something, because we've never been in this before.
It's so funny. So we're going to watch this in 10 years. You and I will watch this together. And in 10 years, the market will be totally different. Things will be awesome. And we'll be looking back and going, remember when everything was really tough? Like, I like to keep that in mind going through this time versus going through last time. Last time I didn't know things got better. I was like, everything will always be bad. I remember looking at the burger flipper, and I'm like, that dude's getting a paycheck. That dude is getting insurance. And you don't, early on, I didn't know it's a cycle that, it gets bad, it gets better. And we'll watch this and be like, oh man, I remember how tough that was while we're cashing checks.
It gets bad, it gets better, but it gets different. So we're not going back to what it was. It's just like, okay, this is the path we're on now. Now, how do I do this path? There's the old story, and I actually posted this on LinkedIn a couple months ago. So I don't mean to be repetitive here, and I don't know the exact. There's a farmer in a town, and the farmer has a son, and one day the farmer's horse runs away, and everybody in the town says, oh my God, your horse ran away. Now you're not going to be able to do any farming. I'm so sorry. Life's so hard for you. And the farmer goes, we'll see. And the next day the horse came back, but the horse had found 2 horses out there. And now the farmer has 3 horses, and everybody goes, look at the good fortune you have. Look how great everything is. And the farmer said, we'll see. And then what happens is the farmer's son goes out and sees one of the new horses that's there and says, I got to go break this horse. I got to ride the horse. So he gets on the horse, and what happens? The horse throws him, and the son breaks his leg. And everybody goes, oh my gosh, your son broke his leg. You're not going to have any help farming this season. It's going to be horrible. He says, we'll see. And the next day, the country goes to war, and all people under the age of 25 males are drafted in to go to war. And now they say, look, your son can't go to war. He has a broken leg. You're so lucky. He goes, we'll see. And I think we need to take that we'll see situation right now. Like, what's going to happen with Chat GPT? That doesn't mean you bury your head. Like, we're not ostriches. I always say, you can't be an ostrich because, see, two things. When you bury your head, you don't see what's going on around you, but you also leave something very valuable exposed, right? When you're bent over your heads like that. So, but that's where I am now. We'll see. I'm going to see what's out there around me and put my bets on which way I think it's going. But we'll see. Once again, the 50 things. What happens if it's this? What happens if it's that? I mean, I sent you the thing the other day where it had trainers that say, hi, I'm just an avatar and you can choose a voice for me and you can choose language. I'm like, okay, so should I just stop doing what I'm doing because you can do it electronically? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I love that because you're not saying don't be prepared. You're saying don't get emotionally involved and this is probably going to take me out. Like go back and go, okay, what are the impacts? And then how do I play in this new world?
All right, dude, let's get political for a second.
This will be awesome.
This is the biggest problem that we have in politics today. People already have a predetermined outset of what they say it's going to be. So now all they want to do is prove that they're right because it's so hard to say that I'm wrong. If so-and-so wins, this is what's going to happen. I guarantee it. If we do that, if the government takes that action, this is what's going to happen. So therefore we can't do that. Well, you've already predetermined. Sometimes you want to look at them and say, I mean, hey, masks, did they work? Did they not work? We'll see. Hey, let's put on the mask. Let's see if it works. I didn't find that as a big limitation for me. I'm not whichever way, but we'll see. I didn't say, oh my God, everybody without a mask is horrible and everybody what? We'll see.
Have you seen the post, whether you think you'll be successful or not? How does it go? Whether you think you'll be successful or not, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those, if you assume this is all just going to go to hell in a handbasket, then cool. Then that's most likely how it's going to go for you.
And you're always going to look for things to prove that you're right. It's so hard to think that you're ever wrong. So sometimes I say, don't think you're right or wrong. Just think, we'll see.
Yeah.
Don't pick a side yet.
Right.
I don't know, but you just said memes. So here's my new favorite meme. Okay.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's really attributed to Canal Reeves, but he's the one that I saw it. So he's because I never approved that, whatever. But it's him, and he says, I'm at the age now, if somebody says 1 + 1 = 5, I say, good for you. Right? Why are we fighting over things that are just not important?
Yeah.
If it's important, I want to prove that I'm right. But the fact that you say, I think chocolate ice cream is best. Well, you're wrong. It's vanilla ice cream. Let it go. What are we fighting over that for?
I wish I had that perspective. I've got this like justice.
I'm older than
mindset.
you.
And that helps. It really does. But it's not getting better for me. Like I have to know, like, I have to make sure people know when they're wrong. So it doesn't do me any good, but you're right.
You must be a pleasure to be married to.
Well, no, she's never wrong. Let me just clear that up right now. No, but like if somebody says 1 + 1 = 5, that's a hard thing for me to do. Like it's better. The same result occurs, right? If I go, no, you're an idiot. 1 + 1 = 2, and I can prove it like all day long, they're still be like, no, it's 5. But if I say, good luck to you, that's awesome, the exact same result will happen. So why
yes and no. I mean, there's certain things when you say, hi, I'm a loan officer and I need your tax returns. And they're like, you don't need them. Well, you are wrong. And this is going to affect the outcome. Right. I mean, there's certain things where, no, I have to fight to be right on this. Right. But something like is this a nice day today? Well, I happen to like this weather. You don't. See, go to Brene Brown for a second. Do you listen to her at all?
Oh yeah, I love her. Yeah.
I mean, I have what I call a professional crush on this woman. Obviously, she has no idea who I am, but she's just awesome. And she always talks about the concept. She says, when people are insecure and they don't feel their own sense of worth, they turn their opinions into facts.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is just brilliant. So therefore, when I have somebody say to me, oh, well, if so-and-so wins the election, this is what I'm telling you what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen to rates. I guarantee it. I'm looking at them saying, wow, you're insecure because you're now spouting off your opinion as a fact. So instead, I have greater sympathy and empathy for that person than you who's trying to prove that person wrong.
Well, you're a better person than me, clearly.
I am, but you're better looking than me. So which way are you going to go with that all day long?
Dude, together we're a force.
But you follow what I'm saying.
I totally do. Yeah.
And I think Brene Brown, when I saw that people, when they feel like they do not have self-worth, they flip their opinions and state it as a fact. So it makes their opinion sound more correct.
Yeah.
It builds up their own self-worth. So I see what they're doing.
Yeah. I love that. I want to dive
my self-worth here for a second. How's this conversation going? I know you like to have these calls.
I freaking love it. I knew I would.
To tears. I'm not crying yet, Ken. Come on.
Everybody cries, man. No, I love it. That I knew I would though. Like everything you say, you've got so much experience in doing the things, especially in my world, right? We both are in that same place. But and I love your perspective on stuff because you and I actually discussed remote work for a little bit. And you were kind of out speaking and like, yeah, we could totally do this. And I was like, no, like we kind of clashed on that. Not in a bad way, just like, let's kind of throw thoughts out of what we think is going to happen. Because both of us are kind of counted on in front of audiences to be able to say, like, this is the way I kind of see things going. And we're both, we both observe, especially when it comes to like new technologies and where technology is going to go. We're always kind of watching and have some good opinions on it. That one is a great example of one where I don't think either one of us are right. I think that it is more of a we'll see. And I have taken that on and like, let's just kind of review as things happen and like reading studies, because a lot of things you don't know how they work until way later when you read the study and hopefully it's a good study.
Well, half the time, more than half the time, the outcome that's there, and this is going to go against everything that I just said about law school and going to camp and the crystal ball, and this is what drives my own neuroses here, is the thing that ends up happening is usually a thing that you never could have predicted in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I was at Genworth Mortgage Insurance, we were like, okay, and there were some times where things weren't awesome, right? I mean, we all have gotten, the market's a cycle, and we were looking at it and where are we going? And then we were trying to figure out how to work it. And then we turned around and we heard, oh, there's a company who's trying to buy us named China Oceanwide. You remember that whole time? I mean, that was back years and years and years ago, right? So people go, oh, what do you think is going to happen? I've never heard of China Oceanwide, and now they're trying to come in and buy the company that I work for. So how could I have ever prepared for that? How could I have ever predicted that? I've never heard for it. I'm a Baltimore Ravens guy. What's going to happen with Lamar Jackson? We have no idea what's going on in that negotiation room. We all sit out here, oh, this is what he should do. And I'm telling you don't know. I had no idea that OBJ was going to come in and say, hey, you know what? I want to go play for the Ravens and I'm going to talk to Lamar about this. That wasn't even a consideration. So it's not my purview to try and figure that out. So stop trying you're on the path. Stop trying to judge it. This is where we are. What do I need to do from here? Instead of saying, how did I get here? What did I do wrong? Am I in a good spot? Not a good spot or a bad spot. We'll see if it's a good spot or a bad spot. It's the spot you're in. What are you going to do about it now?
That's so stoic. Like I've been reading the Daily Stoic and this whole like letting things affect you that shouldn't have power over you. You're saying don't give power to something that you can't change or fix and that's going to go the way it's going to go.
It's a balance. I'm still playing out 100 different scenarios in here that says, okay, if the market does this, if we are in a recession, are we in a recession? Who cares? Go get more loans. We're in a recession. Who cares? Go get more loans. I mean, that doesn't matter. Right. Everybody's trying to figure out, are we in a recession? I'm figuring out how do you get more loans? So you try and keep that balance of, I'm not in a good spot or a bad spot, but you still try and think about, okay, but where am I going to go? What's the more likelihood of success if I go in direction A, B, C, or D?
Mhm.
But where I am is where I am right now. It's neither good nor bad. It's what road am I going to get on? And hopefully I was smart enough to put myself on the right road.
Yeah. What you made a change. So when you left the mortgage insurance company, you went over to a mortgage company. I
Yep.
still remember. I was literally
Shocked.
seven blocks away. I had just turned off the freeway when you called and we talked. I still remember making a left turn when you were telling me that, and I have strange, ways of remembering things. But I remember
We
where I
all
were,
do.
and I remember you telling me. I was like, okay, like you're going in and trying something new. I think there's some lessons in there for some people you've seen all the change in the industry. And so I think you're more valuable on this now than you were, because you were with the same company for so many years. You now have the experience of leaving a company that you were with for a long time, going to another company, and then that experience. I think there's a lot for people that you could share right now on making an entire life change.
Stop with the judgment. Everybody says, "Oh my God, I hope you're not making a big mistake." And now,
I didn't judge you. I'm like,
no,
cool.
no. Did you make a mistake? I don't know. This is where I am today. Because let me ask you a question. If I had stayed, would it have gotten better there? Would it have gotten worse there? How is it going to affect stop with the judgment, right? So that was a big part of me of, okay, I'm taking this. I did enjoy very much the taking of a swing, hey, we're in unprecedented times. Let me try this. Let me try that. And that's a hard thing for somebody like me who wants to know crystal ball, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. So, I mean, that was a lot of mental anguish for me, but stop with the judgment. At the end of, oh, now that you're in this, you know what? My wife still loves me. My kids still love me. I think they do. I haven't been thrown out of my house yet. I'm still making my mortgage payment. Is this the right thing to do or not the right thing to do? I don't know. I tell you what, I'm glad I'm not on the road 180 gigs a year anymore.
Yeah. I love that. Like I freaking love that 100%. There's no judgment here. It's so good to hear that you didn't stake everything. Your entire identity wasn't staked on the things that shouldn't be staked on. Like you're grounded. And so the moves that you make are like, let me take a swing over here and see. Because I've been going back on some things that, recent decisions I've made in the last 2 years where I'm like, no, I'd take that bet every time. Some bets don't work. I still would have taken that bet every single time.
And look at our world. I know many a loan officer that make $1 million a year. And I sort of look at those people and I'm like, it's easy for you to take that risk because you have X in the bank. It's all going to work out for you because, I'm not financially at a place where I actually could retire if I wanted to right now. I'm still need to produce and do that. But hey, what difference does it make how it's coming in? And I could make $20,000 more over there or $20,000 at the end of the day. Come on, let's keep it going.
I love
And if
that.
you're not making enough, then you'll find something else to do.
It's
I look at
inspiring.
my kids. They figure, we all look at our kids, not my kids. My kids are perfect. But most people look at their kids and like, oh, these kids today, they're all morons. They all figure it out. We were all morons too.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God I didn't capture stuff when I was a kid on Facebook, but my gosh, we all did ridiculously stupid things. But we figured it out.
I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people that needed to hear what you just said. Because there's a lot of people who made decisions. There's a lot of people, I'm going to share today. I had a great therapy session last week, and it was so funny because
this is my therapy session talking to you.
Nice. Yeah, I was talking about the business, and we were dealing with some things, and I said something like, "Well, I don't want them to leave me. Like I didn't want people to get upset with me and leave me." And she goes, "We're still talking about the company, right?" And I was like, oh, like I enmesh my success with the company's success. And I think I take so much of, if something doesn't go wrong, I have failed everybody. And in this market has torn up a lot of people's financial situations, a lot of people's job situations. I mean, they don't know where they're going now. It's just ridiculously shredded a lot of financial, and families. And you look at it and you go, how many people are sitting there taking credit for the pain that was caused when actually the credit belongs to the market? Like, there's things we can do and not do, but like nobody in this market the market is not feeding anybody very well right now. And so the key for me in that conversation was, it isn't about me. I'm riding the same wave everybody else is. I'm in the same storm everybody else is. And if it's a struggle, it's a struggle because of something that was brought into the situation, not because of something that I created. And so it's important to go, yeah, things happened. Yep. And now here I am. And now, what are we going to do today? I think there's a lot of people, including me, that needed to hear you say that.
And a big piece for me, and this is where I love our conversations, is you and I do something that's very similar, but we've decided to do it very differently. So you've gone out and you said, I'm going to build a company and I'm going to create this thing and I'm going to have employees that I'm responsible for and da, 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 da. And I've gone out and said, hi, I'm building me. I'm responsible for me. I don't want to take on all that other stuff, which is right. I don't know. I guess when we're in 20 years, we'll be sitting on a beach in Bora Bora together and we can have this conversation. But if I had, and I am betting on this, dollars to donuts, you're going to do just fine, Ken. And guess what? So am I. Yeah. And we're doing it very different ways. It's not one size fits all. And, oh, you made a mistake or you could have, come on.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that right now that I'm responsible for me and my family. I don't have 10 employees that are looking at me and saying, how are we doing this week, boss? Mm-hmm. I love the fact, not that yours are saying that, but I mean, I've created something that I have no overhead. Mm-hmm. I have the obligations are just to me and my family. Mm-hmm. So you're saying, I want to build this bigger thing. That's beautiful. Neither's right. Neither's wrong. They're just different paths.
Right. Yeah, and we both get different experiences, different adventures, and I love that. Like that's truly how it is. And we will be sitting in Bora Bora on a beach, chatting about all of this because that's
you and I will probably be playing golf and not sitting on a beach, but that's
man. I hope so. Yeah, but yeah, it's down the road. We'll be able to look back at all of this and be like, oh, that was interesting, And that's the key, is not getting so caught up in the day-to-day of stress, but to pull back and go, this too shall pass, and this is where I am right now, and here we go. Let's figure today out.
That's where we are.
I'm going to end it there, man. I love it, and I thank you, and I appreciate you. Always a pleasure. One day we'll get back on the same stage again, sooner than later.
Say this.
Yeah.
Knowledge Coop is great. Ken Perry's great. For those of you, if you're still listening to us, that man right there is an absolute gem to our industry. See, I'll make you cry.
Oh, man. Thank you. Steve, I appreciate you, buddy.
Have a good one.
All right. You too.